Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com. Happy Monday, America. It is time for, once again, today in sports betting, NBA style. We're going to take a look at both NBA games tonight. It should be very exciting. Scott, are you excited about the NBA today?
You got the NBA, you got some NHL playoff stuff, and you got the start of the U.S. Open in tennis, which has kind of gone under the radar. And as you might know, I'm a pretty big tennis guy, so I'm definitely looking forward to today's betting card. But yeah, for the most part, it was a pretty solid weekend. I know UFC went well. The Clippers definitely helped me out yesterday. I know it helped you out as well.
Yep.
And overall, looking forward to seeing at least one Game 7 on the horizon, as the Nuggets were able to take care of business and force a deciding Game 7 tomorrow, I believe.
It's quite a series, man. Yeah, I had a premium play on the Clippers -10, and I had a premium play on the Denver-Utah over. A little bit more of a sweat in that one, although they ended up getting there.
Is it really ever a sweat when Denver's playing to take the over?
Well, you know what? It was we needed 30 points in the last 5 minutes. So,
well, considering the fact though that you did have 60-plus points in the first quarter again, I feel like the fact that you even needed a sweat at all, and the fact that Utah still went under the team total despite putting up 30-plus in the first quarter.
Yep.
I don't know what it is with Utah, but I noticed when they played Denver a decent amount during the season, that wasn't the case in the beginning of the series. It seemed like they just go into random lulls offensively where they just can't generate anything for about a 6 or 7 minute period.
Yeah, it's usually called the second half.
Yeah, but I'm assuming you've noticed that as well. There's just 7 minutes there where you just don't know what they're doing, and then they just pick it up normally. And I'm like, what? Why did you stop running anything for 7 minutes?
Oh yeah, for me, the world's most anal better as I'm running the points per minute every other minute that I'm watching a game with a total in there. Yeah, I'm definitely well aware of the little tank that Utah can go in at times. Yeah, that was a game that was, I believe it was a 117 at halftime. And, of course, nothing's ever a lock, but you feel good. You're off to a good start. You need a 100.
Well, you remember my team total from Game 4, what was it, Game 4 or 5? Oh, Game 5, where Utah just had 63 points at the half. I had the over. I had 111 and a half, and it was like, I just need 49 for 50 points, and they put up 44. And I'm thinking, what happened at halftime? Yeah. Did he just not, what, I don't know. But Utah seems to have one of those situations. Of course, that's where Bojan Bogdanovic would help, because he's one of their best scorers. And, of course, he's out for the playoffs, and he provides some nice depth in terms of three-point shooting. But I told you after I saw Utah choke that double-digit lead at halftime in Game 5, I thought that Denver was completely live to win the series, and they should be favored in Game 7 if I really had to price it. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be around 1.5 or 2, but I think that you agree that Denver has to be the favorite going into Game 7.
Well, I've got the line up, so yes.
I haven't looked at the line. I'm guessing it's around -2.
It's actually, Utah -1 still. You can
really. That surprises me.
Okay. I don't think that'll stay.
The team that's lost the last 2 games is now okay. That's an interesting pricing. I expect money to pour in on Denver, but yes.
Yeah, I think that's going to flip for sure. I don't see Utah being an ultimate favorite there. I think Denver's a little bit beyond a live dog. I think they should be the.
Well, where would you price the line if you had no idea what the line would be? I had Denver -2. I think that makes sense to me.
In the 2 to 3 range, I think is what I'd be looking at right now.
Now, I'm still a little bit confused on. Sorry, before we get into today's action, but just a brief rant here. I got no idea what Utah's doing defensively with Jamal Murray, and I was hoping maybe you could help me touch upon it, because you have a guy who scored 40-plus in 2 straight games, right? He's got 25 in the first half. He's carrying the entire team offensively. Now, I know Grant had a great game from the three-point line, and that's unexpected. I know Jokic is still very good. I get it. At what point do you start double-teaming the guy? Because the fourth quarter, you're going one-on-one defensively, and Murray is just torching people, and they're just doing nothing. You had about, two or three straight possessions where Murray hits runners in the lane. Then he hits 2 step-back threes for daggers. And I'm thinking, are you waiting for him to get 50 before you start trapping him at half court? Or what exactly is the game plan there?
Yeah.
Just trapping him at the end of the third quarter.
I agree. And you and I talked about that in real time yesterday. I don't understand why. I don't know if it's a pride thing or what the situation is.
I think the issue that teams have in the NBA is that they're so focused on preventing overhelp. And in the three-point-driven league, they're so concerned with leaving wide-open shooters in corners that they'd rather keep the defensive assignments and kind of not overdo the helping. I think that's kind of a general rule of thumb, what I've noticed from NBA coaches. And I
Right.
think that's ridiculous. Because conceptually speaking, Michael Porter Jr. was not great yesterday. Grant was surprisingly very good. I'll give him props. Grant actually showed up from the three-point line. I think anybody saw that coming. But Murray is the only guy who's handling the ball within the last, I'd say, 5 minutes of the game. You're just not going to at least force the ball out of his hand. Worst case scenario is you force Denver to waste a couple extra seconds on the shot clock to run their sets. But you're just letting Murray do a pick and roll whenever he wants, and you know you can't stop him. So why don't you just at least try to dare a Michael Porter Jr. or a Jeremy Grant to hit the big shot late in the fourth quarter?
And I know that's the theory, that these guys, that every player on the floor is so good that if you leave any of them open, they're gonna be able to beat you. But you know what? I'm with you. It's like running on an outfielder, trying to score that single from second. Make them make the throw. Make Denver beat you. Make Michael Porter Jr. beat you. Make Grant stay hot beyond the arc. Now Jokic obviously is somebody that can beat you, but this offense isn't going through Jokic right now. It's absolutely,
it's completely the Murray show. It's just
the
what
Murray
it is.
show. It's absolutely the Murray show. I'm with you, Scott. I think there have been a number of questionable decisions.
I think Denver's also at fault for that too, because they're just letting Donovan Mitchell get whatever he wants. I'm not really sure what the defensive game plan is for both teams. It seems like Denver's more okay with trying to just force Utah to beat them from the perimeter. And if Utah gets hot from the outside, that's a problem. But they have cooled off in the second half, in particular from the three-point line. But both Mitchell and Murray keep putting up 40-plus points, and it seems like nobody at any point is considered double-teaming them. And I'm not really sure what the logic is for either team.
Yeah, when Murray goes for 50 again.
He's like 17 for 24 from the floor. Guard the guy. Maybe you should force Jeremy Grant or somebody to beat you. That's just a hot take. Even Jokic. I know Jokic is a very good center. I get it. I'm assuming you agree that whoever Utah has guarding Murray, whether it's Donovan Mitchell or whether it's going to be Mike Conley, I think you feel a little bit better mentally with Rudy Gobert guarding Jokic than you do about either of those two guards guarding Jamal Murray, at least in this point in time.
Sure. Yeah.
So then you should probably force Jokic to beat you in comparison to Murray.
And yeah, I agree, and I think Jokic is so. I think they are so worried about Jokic being able to go off here that they game planned this series around him, and I don't think they've been able to adjust.
I'm hoping for the sake of Utah that they at least acknowledge the fact that maybe we should be trapping Murray on all these pick and rolls.
As a Mizzou guy, I absolutely despise Quinn Snyder, but I do give him props. He has become one of the
He's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. His team's limited. They're up 3-1. I acknowledge he's a good coach, but at some point you got to make an adjustment. And I don't know how many times you need to see Murray hit a three in your face before you realize maybe we shouldn't let that guy shoot.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Game 7 brings. We'll be back to talk about that tomorrow. But it was a great game last night, and it worked out well for both of us. So we've got a couple games on the slate here for today, Scott. This first
literally a couple, because we have two, which is the fewest games that we've had on the NBA card. And
that's a couple, Scott.
I know, but I'm saying that it's just upsetting to look at because of the fact that we've been, I'd say, fortunate that we've had about 3 to 4 playoff games every single day, and now the slate's slowly but surely starting to reduce itself.
Yeah, there's no more 1 o'clock starts, and yeah, no more wake and rake basketball.
I can't even watch the Bucks dribble out the shot clock violation to barely cover the spread against Orlando anymore. It's a shame.
And I know at some books that went to 14.5, and
the whole series was nuts from a betting perspective. Vegas was sharp. They put the same line out every time, and Milwaukee won, the last 3 games by about 14 or 15 each time? It was ridiculous, but –
well, now they get a little taller order here, Scott, in the Miami Heat. And now you and I have a premium pick on this, and you have your
play of the day. So
we're going to we're going to talk about it in general terms. We're going to talk about the total, but we're not going to talk about the size. Because you and I
could also sprinkle some discussion about the series as well.
The side play here, I think Miami's a live dog in this situation. I haven't been impressed.
You mean for the game or the series?
I mean for the series. I think that. You and I were talking a little bit before we went on air, and I think this is a very possible spot here for it to go 7 or for Miami to pull the upset. Now, I don't know as much about tonight's game. But as far as I do have a player, I do like the under in this game, Scott. I think this is going to be a very deliberate game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of wide open looks early, and I think that 224 is perhaps a little too tall. I do like the under. Are you on board with that as well?
It's very difficult to take unders in today's NBA, especially with the free throw situations, which turn into an absolute circus late in games. But in reality, I agree with you. I'd have to lean to the under.
I think we're going to be helped in the free throw situation here. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I don't think you're going to have.
I kind of just meant all the touch fouls with people potentially getting in foul trouble early and stuff like that.
You know what? I thought the Denver game yesterday was refereed pretty well.
It was. Overall, I thought the Clippers game, they also let them play a decent amount. Of course, you had the Morris ejection and all this other nonsense that happened. But overall, I thought the games have been.
You don't agree with that? You don't think that was a good ejection?
No, I'm not saying that it wasn't worthy of an ejection. I'm just saying that you had some referee quote-unquote shenanigans because some people disagreed with the ejection.
Well, those people were what we call wrong, Scott.
I personally agree, especially with the track record involving.
It brought a forearm down to the back of his head.
No, I agree. I'm just saying how the referees, even though the games I thought were refereed well, you still had some moments which could have potentially be misconstrued as controversial. That's kind of what I meant.
Yeah,
but I thought the refs did a fine job. Nothing really outstanding that stood out to me as saying, "Wow, I can't believe they blew this." I'm hoping that the deeper the playoffs goes, the more they'll swallow the whistles. That's kind of what you hope for as a fan, because for the game itself, that it's a huge deal. But I think Miami can actually match up well defensively against Milwaukee, and a lot of teams don't have that luxury. And I think that the issue you have with Milwaukee is that their bench was pretty much non-existent against Orlando. And I think the Miami's bench, even though it is good, I'm a little bit concerned where Milwaukee's offense is going to come from if Giannis is at least held somewhat in check, at least for an inefficient 30 points. And Miami, don't get me wrong, they have a lot of great three-point shooters, but Milwaukee's defense was also one of the best defenses in the entire league. So I think that this could be a bit more of a war than what people are anticipating.
Yeah, I think Bam Adebayo is going to make Giannis earn everything that he puts on the board.
I think Bam might be one of the only players in the entire league who can actually somewhat guard Giannis one-on-one. Is he going to completely shut him down? Of course not, because that's impossible. But Miami's going to try to deploy the wall defense. They're going to put three guys in the paint, try to whatever. But it does help because they don't have to overcommit helping. They can still get out to the three-point shooters. And at first glance, I think this game should finish pretty. I don't know, like 109, 106.
Yeah, that's kind of my feelings as well. Right in that neck of the woods. This is a Milwaukee team that doesn't play great 3-point defense. They were middle of the pack in the NBA, but they are the worst team that's left in the playoffs, or the second worst team that made the playoffs as far as 3-point defense goes. Second worst only to Utah, which I don't think
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, surprise to anybody that's been watching that series. And Milwaukee, what they do is they clog up the paint. They play the best interior defense in the NBA by far. It's not even close. But that's not really Miami's game, and so it should be a fun matchup to see. I like you. I like the under there as well, and I think that game goes. I think that game goes 7 as well. I think that the Heat have a pretty serious coaching advantage in this situation. I think Budenholzer's been playing too many guys off that bench.
They have some really weird fascination with giving Marvin Williams 18-plus points.
I know
he was good in Game 5. I get it. Why is Marvin Williams playing 18 minutes? I have no idea.
Bench players are playing 40% of the minutes in their games, which is second.
They've also been up to like 20 in the third quarter. But you ever notice how the bench comes in, they immediately blow the lead, and it goes down to 7?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to blame it on that, but that hasn't really, and that's been a factor, but that hasn't been the only factor.
It's not the only factor. I'm just saying it doesn't help when you're trying to give Giannis a rest, let alone the fact that he's been in foul trouble a decent amount of these games, and you're just getting nothing from your bench unit, especially against Miami, who has the ability to put up a ton of points with easily a top 3 bench unit in the entire league.
Yeah, agreed.
But I was actually thinking about doing another video in addition to the play of the day. I did the series parlay for the first round. I was going to do a second round one. The Heat plus 1.5 games at plus 160 on Fox Bet looks like a steal to me.
I agree. I
So
agree.
that was my thought. I think that you can take a sprinkle on them to win the whole series at plus 360. I think that's also a pretty good deal.
But you win if it goes to 6 or 7.
No, you lose if it goes to 6. If
6, they win
Milwaukee
4-2.
wins in
Right.
6,
Right.
but
Right.
if
Right.
it goes to 7, you automatically win.
Right.
Before the playoffs, I had Milwaukee in 7, and since the first round, I have completely pivoted to Miami. I am not in at all on this Milwaukee team.
So if this game goes 5 and it's not done, you're basically getting better than 3-2 on your money.
Correct. Plus, hypothetically speaking, if you end up taking Miami plus the 1.5 games, and you think that Miami could win the series in 6, if they take an early lead or so, you can easily hedge the thing, and then you could get some pretty nice middle ground. Of course, you probably wouldn't want to hedge it unless it's around maybe 2-2 in the series, and you have to win one of the next 2 games. Like
right.
That's why you'd look at it. So you'd set up like a nice 2-pick parlay, I guess, for Milwaukee money line on both, and try to get some movement in there. But I don't know. I just think that this series looks completely mispriced, and I know that people said that about the Lakers-Portland series in the first round, and that aged horribly for Portland people. But I think Miami's the better team. And Spoelstra, I think, is one of the most underappreciated coaches in the league, and I think he always has been. So for that reason, I think Miami's got a serious shot to win the series.
Well, except for the year when he won Coach of the Year. But yeah.
He won Coach of the Year 1 year, but I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot that he even won Coach of the Year.
Agreed.
And his entire legacy is based on, oh, well, he had LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. And you're just looking like, no, he's actually a really good coach. You just haven't noticed that. But, yes, he's, in my opinion, a top 5, top 10 coach in the entire league.
Oh, no question about it. All right, let's take a look at the other game there out west, is the Houston Rockets and the OKC Thunder. This has dropped from Rockets -5.5 to Rockets -5.
I think the line movement's a bit questionable.
You think?
The thing is that I told you before the series that I liked Oklahoma City to win the series. So a part of me still, thinks Oklahoma City maybe can figure something out. But that was one of the worst showings I've seen offensively in a playoff game in a long time. In Game 5, that was terrible.
No question about that. That's
they failed to score more than 20 points in 3 out of 4 quarters. It's 2020. I haven't seen that since the 2003 Pistons.
And they were just dreadful from beyond the arc.
Schroeder got ejected. That didn't help.
No, that didn't help at all.
He deserved to get ejected. I mean, he hit him right in the groin. And I thought Tucker deserved to get ejected because he very politely nudged him with his head, which is considered a headbutt in some countries. So I was fine with the ejections. But the issue that Oklahoma City has is the fact that they need Dort to play a ton of minutes because he's the only one who could hypothetically guard Harden.
Right.
And he is easily, by far, the worst offensive player on the floor.
He is a liability on the offensive side of the floor.
It's really kind of funny because Oklahoma City used to have the same thing with Roberson, and they just switched guys now. Like, Roberson came back and he hasn't played, and they found another Roberson-type guy who only plays defense and he can't shoot, and he's still shooting like 13 times a game, and he's like 2 for 13. At some point, I know that you're wide open, Dort. Just take it to the rim. At some point, just stop shooting the ball. But he's the best person to guard Harden, so you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think Oklahoma City has to go small with Gallinari again and just pray that their isolation style works because I don't really know what else you're supposed to do. Westbrook, I was right about my at least my Westbrook analysis going into Game 5. I said I liked Oklahoma City plus the points because I thought Westbrook was overvalued because I thought it was going to be rusty, and I thought he'd have a minute restriction. And what do you know? He had a minute restriction and he was rusty, and yet Oklahoma City still lost by 34. So Westbrook looked awful. I think you'll agree with that. He was not good. Well, it's excusable because he hasn't played in a while, but I think you'll agree he did not look good at all.
Well, it's hard to say if he actually, had a minute restriction. I mean, he played 24 minutes, but that game was decided.
Yeah, that's true. But the point I was trying to make was that I thought Westbrook had a less of an impact than the original point spread was implying, and that was 100% true. What Westbrook, like 3 for 13 from the floor? Yeah,
that's generally the case. Is one player is going to be overvalued, but it does open up other facets of the offense, even if he's not on. And I think that's what you saw. You basically saw an Oklahoma City team that's trading right now. They're trading 2s for 3s. And
it was close at the half, and the third quarter came out, and I don't know what happened. Houston just blew the game open. You changed the channel for 5 minutes, you turn it back, and Houston built up a 20-point lead. And you're wondering what just happened.
12 points at halftime, something like that.
By what?
Or was it 12 points at halftime?
I thought it was closer. I thought Oklahoma City went on a run to end the first half, but I'm not sure. I'll check that right now. But I just remember that I switched the game off for a little while, turned it back, and immediately was just going, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, you're right. It was 48-45. It was
That's what I'm saying. Like,
3 points that time.
Houston was up double digits. Oklahoma City went on a run in the third quarter. And I'm like, oh, it's a 3-point game. And then I turn it back, and they're up 20. And I'm wondering, what just happened here?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Thunder put up 31 in the second quarter.
And then they get outscored
and put up 35
37 in the third quarter. And you're just going, I don't know what the game plan was. But I got to give props to D'Antoni. He's not a defensive coach, but he made some adjustments, and Oklahoma City had no answers. And it's a bad sign for Oklahoma City when their leading scorer was Schroeder, and he didn't play the last quarter and a half.
Yeah.
So that's not really a good look.
Not good. Not good
yeah.
at all.
That's the thing about Dort, though. He's being viewed as a defensive specialist, and he is making Harden work. Harden did have 31 points on 11 of 15 shooting. So maybe you shouldn't use Dort as much as you have been. That's probably my main takeaway, because Dort's kind of killing you offensively.
Well, this is an Oklahoma City team that was forced out of their game. They shot 7 for 46 from 3-point land.
Oh, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. I'm just saying Dort was 3 for 16 from the floor, 0 for 9 from 3. He probably shouldn't play as much. Throw Baisley in more, who actually played well. He played 26 minutes. I know that he ended up going 2 for 10, but he had 10 points, 12 rebounds in 26 minutes. Play him a bit more. Maybe Ferguson, who I'm not a big fan of, but he has some athleticism and he's a better shooter than Dort. Dort is just forcing Oklahoma City to go 4-on-5 on every offensive possession, and it's killing them.
Yeah, agreed.
So if I really had to lean into where I'm leading Houston, I'm not going to blame Westbrook for struggling in his first game back after a week and a half off or so. So I think that's fine. I think he'll look sharper. And Oklahoma City, I just don't think has the firepower. I know that they have done a good job coming back in the series from being down 2-0, but I just feel like so much more has to go right for Oklahoma City to win a game than it has to go right for Houston. And for that reason, I got only Houston here.
Yeah, that's what you want to look for, is who has the most paths to victory.
I don't see many paths unless you have, once again, Chris Paul and Schroeder both going for 25 plus. That's really the only method I see. Do you see any other path? Because I don't.
No, I really don't. I like the this is another game where I like the under. I think
I'm a little bit torn on unders for elimination games, because you might turn into an absolute just free throw fest down the stretch. Oklahoma City might be down 10 and they're still tackling people as soon as they inbound the ball.
Possible.
So that's an issue. You also should win that easily if Houston's able to blow it open again, and then you have garbage time players playing for the fourth quarter.
Yep.
But this might be Chris Paul's last game in Oklahoma City. I'm curious how he's going to play. Hopefully this game's competitive, because I barely watched any of Game 5, and that was one of the best decisions I've made in the playoffs, because I'm sure that game was brutal to watch, particularly when Oklahoma City had the ball. But I'm rooting for Oklahoma City because I want another Game 7. You know me, I love chaos. I'm a huge fan of Game 7s.
Right.
And the one thing better than one Game 7 is 2 Game 7s. And since the NHL has delivered absolutely 0 Game 7s up to this point, I'm kind of hoping the NBA delivers 1 or 2. We already have 1. And do I think the Thunder will do it? No. But, they've proven some doubters wrong earlier on. Maybe they can work it out. If Houston misses another 15 3-pointers in a row, maybe Oklahoma City can do something, so we'll see.
All right, good enough.
But I'm assuming we both lean Houston.
Well, I've got a premium on this game, so
fair enough. So I'll lean Houston, and you're leaning under.
I am leaning under on this. I think that's I think that's the call. I don't think this Oklahoma City offense becomes efficient overnight, and I don't think they can do their part to get over that total. So
I'll tell you one thing that I do find very fascinating, though, and I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on it. If you look at the series prices, they still have the series price up for Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City is roughly plus 700 or plus 750 to beat Houston. I'm confused by that line, because Oklahoma City on the money line tonight is in the 200s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they win this game, what is it?
185.
185. Okay, so it's plus 185. And then assuming there is a Game 7, Houston will be favored by what? 3.5 to 4? 4.5? Maybe it could be the same line, but I'm assuming it would reduce a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, probably in the 3 range.
So you're getting plus 700 on Oklahoma City to win 2 games, where you can potentially buy out of that for about minus 200 on Houston on the money line.
Yeah, that's a good hedge there if this goes to Game 7, if you do book that up.
That's why I'm confused where they got 700 from, because that just doesn't make really any sense.
Well, they just don't think they can win 2 games in a row.
No,
So
I guess, but conceptually speaking, though, if they win Game 6 and the money line for Oklahoma City on Game 6 is roughly plus 185.
right, I know.
I'm not a math major, but doesn't that sound a little bit off to you?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So that might be worth a sprinkle just for the sake of knowing you're going to hedge. You're basically getting a Game 6 money line for, I know, about plus 250, plus 300.
Yeah, it's the kind of inefficiencies in the market that you really have to keep an eye out for.
That's why I was confused. I had to look at that for a while, and I'm thinking to myself, am I missing something? But I guess I'm not. I mean, of course, Oklahoma City would still have to win today as an underdog, and I'm not saying that they're going to do that. But it's all about value. And if they somehow win Game 6, Houston should once again, this line's not going to climb. It's going to be roughly 5 max again for Game 7.
Which
means Houston's going to be laying, what, like minus 210?
Tops, yeah.
Correct. So you have a plus 700 and a minus 210. That's a pretty nice arbitrage situation you got
and
there.
It's actually gone up to plus 790.
That I'm not saying it's an auto play, but if you want some sprinkle of action there, that's a pretty good way to look at it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed, Scott. That's the kind of stuff that hopefully people are tuning in for to find.
You always got to dig deep into the marketplace. Believe it or not, in any sport, if you dig deep enough, assuming your book has a decent amount of options, and you have multiple books, you can always find something.
Yes, usually an angle.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, we've only got 2 games, so that is kind of disappointing. But on the other hand, they should be 2 pretty good ones. So I'm kind of looking forward.
How about the NHL, by the way? You have 4 series going on right now, and all 4 3-1. How fun is that?
Yeah. Well,
it's a shame.
As an Islanders and Vegas fan, I'm pretty happy with how that's come out. So.
Well, the Islanders, my fingers are crossed that they don't blow this thing. But as of right now, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I feel a lot better being up 3-1 than down 3-1. So that's a hot take right there. But yeah, Islanders look good. I'm hoping the Bruins win today because, as you know, whether you're a basketball fan or honestly in any sport, you're hoping that your next opponent just beats the crap out of each other in the next series, so it makes your life easier. And as a right now, Tampa's had a little bit too easy of a road for my liking.
You got to think Boston is going to rally there at some point, but
I hope they do. But Halak really has given up a couple softies, and that offense hasn't worked. Vasilevsky's been insane.
Yeah, it's been a weird.
I'm hoping Boston wins tonight because I want that series to be a long one, so it's easier for the Islanders hypothetically.
Keep beating each other up while the Islanders wrap it up in Game 6,
Game 5,
or Game 5 rather.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of mismatches. It looks like in the series, the Philly Islander series has been close, even though it's 3-1. I think it has been a close series. Vegas has been the much better team. It's not even been close. Dallas has been the much better team. Not even close. Tampa's been the much better team. Not even close. It's really been a pretty underwhelming second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yep. Well, we'll see what the quarters look like. So.
Yep.
Or the semis rather. So. All right, buddy. Well, there you go. That's our NBA show for today. A little hockey sprinkled in. So. That's a little. That's like finding a onion ring in your French fries, man. You get a little.
That's a huge win. It's an underrated win right there.
You get a little bonus right there. So, of course, make sure you tune us in on the baseball side. We'll be doing MLB here in just a minute. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for everybody over at winnersandwiners.com. Don't forget to check out Winners and Winers for deep dives into all, of course, the NBA games, but not just the NBA, hockey, baseball, UFC. Scott's doing the UFC stuff over there, a little NASCAR, and, of course, a little something we like to call football is just on the horizon. So make sure you stop by and check out Winners and Winers. And, by the way, our football deep dives, deepest dives anywhere around, I challenge you to find a better analysis of a game anywhere, whether you're paying for it or whether it's free.
We have college football next week.
College football Saturday.
Sorry, I'll rephrase. FBS college football.
That's right.
Upcoming.
We got BYU and Navy. You'll be going at it.
It's the late game. I know I'm writing an article on Memphis and Arkansas State. You had some big college football news. Jamar Chase opted out, which is probably a really smart move because he should be a top 5 pick guaranteed, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal NFL receiver. But keep that in mind. One thing you have to factor in, if you are going to be betting win totals and you're going to be betting stuff in college football, brief segue, I know that you wanted to wrap up. Keep in mind how many players are opting out, and keep in mind about some games that are being canceled, etc. Because games that are canceled automatically void your bet. And the last thing you want to do is bet on Memphis, for example, on their over win total because you love their team. Then you realize their star running back opted out and you didn't know about it. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and it's something where you're really going to have to keep your finger on the pulse because uh, like in that FCS game the other night, the long snapper was unable to make the trip.
And it was Austin Peay's, I believe, number one wide receiver also wasn't able to make the trip.
Right, and he didn't make the trip either, and that was two huge pieces of that puzzle as they ended up having to not really even punt. They quick kicked every time that they had
definitely hurt the field position.
Facing a fourth down, and the field position was just brutal. It worked when they were on the right side of the 50. It worked okay because he was able to dribble those little 35-yarders down inside the 10. But when you're outside of the 50 in your own territory, they were able to field those punts about 25 yards in the air.
I don't think it was anything more fitting than seeing a college football game, the first game of the year in FCS, have huge spread implications in the final minute.
Yeah, it was a good final minute, didn't it?
It was a pretty good sweat if you were involved. I know my brief analysis that I barely looked into, I like Central Arkansas minus the points.
That was wrong, but it ended up working out okay for you.
It was an imaginary profitable wrong because I didn't have any money on it, but it was definitely an entertaining game, and hopefully the games in the future aren't as sloppily played, especially on fourth down and plus territory. But we'll see what happens.
All right, buddy. Well, let's we'll do our
baseball.
We do baseball. We're drifting into other sports. We're Dobie Graying right here. We're drifting away. So for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us, we appreciate you stopping by. Hope you guys have a great week. Happy Monday, everybody. Let's kick it off. Let's make some money this week. And you know what? We'll be back tomorrow to talk about it on Today in Sports Betting. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.